Harry, we are going down. I know it. A few seconds later, Avianca Flight 052 with 258 people aboard crashed outside JFK International Airport. In the investigation that followed, it was determined from the black box that the primary reason for the crash was that First Officer Klotz did not tell air traffic control they were out of fuel. First Officer Klotz grew up in Korea where, as a young boy, he learned, as all Koreans did, how to speak to his parents and older family members in one way, how to address his teachers in another way, how to address a police officer or the doctor or even the owner of the store down the street yet a different way. Then there was a specific way that he would talk to his peers based upon their relationship to him, and finally there was another way that he would talk to his siblings and to those who were technically beneath him. In all, the Korean language had 6 different interpersonal communication styles, each with its own vocabulary and special emphasis to project one's place in the hierarchy of authority. To address someone incorrectly could have serious consequences. Klotz learned his place and never strayed from it, always addressing people correctly, and thus he was considered a good communicator. Problems arose, though, whenever he tried to communicate with people outside of the Korean language. As a boy, Klotz became enamored with airplanes and decided that one day he wanted to fly them. He succeeded and became an excellent first officer, yearning for the day when he would become the actual captain and be in charge of flying the aircraft. Now, the captain on that fateful day was Larry Carviedas from Colombia, where Spanish was his native language. Though he had been flying for more than 12 years and was an accomplished pilot, he rarely had an occasion to speak English in his flights around South America. However, flying was not his only passion, and he would frequently engage in other activities that often left him fatigued and tired on his flights. As Avianca Flight 052 prepared to leave Medellin, Colombia, Captain Carviedas was lamenting about how tired he was as the plane sat for 20 minutes on the runway, waiting for clearance to make the 9-hour flight to New York City. 20 minutes burning more fuel than if he had actually been in the air. 20 minutes that loomed large in the events that followed. As Avianca approached New York, the crew discovered that this would not be a routine landing. The skies above New York were crowded, even more than usual. On several occasions, just as the plane prepared to make a landing, air traffic control told them to abort, and they were forced to make a missed approach again to prepare for another attempt. Each attempt burning more precious fuel. Now, to understand what happened that day, it's important to know that the air traffic controllers at JFK, though acknowledged for being very good at their jobs, were notorious for being rude. Dealing with pilots from around the world, they had developed a very thick skin from the back and forth banter between the air traffic controllers and the pilots, which would frequently border on verbal fisticuffs. Though it was normal for the captain to be in communication with air traffic controller, as the plane approached the airport, Captain Carviedas' exhaustion had pushed him to the point that he could no longer translate the English in his head. As he saw that his plane was dangerously low on fuel, he kept asking air traffic control, speak in Spanish, speak in Spanish. They ignored his request, so the captain turned to First Officer Klotz and told him to tell them that they had an emergency. Let them know we have an emergency, he cried. When the harsh voice came over the speaker telling them to circle the airport yet again, First Officer Klotz replied as respectfully as he had been trained his whole life, "Thank you, sir. By the way, we are low on fuel." Now, by the tone of his voice, the simple meaning of his words, the air traffic controller naturally assumed that everything was fine. But as the plane began its final descent, Captain Carviedas, now delirious, said, "Did you tell them we have an emergency?" To which First Officer Klotz replied, "Yes, I did, sir." "Yes, I did, sir." As of 1 January 2008, the International Civil Aviation Organization decreed that all air traffic controllers and all crew members engaged in contact with international flights must be proficient in the English language as a general spoken medium. Now, there are a number of reasons why English became the de facto language in many areas of international communication, not the least of which in that it lacks the nuances of many other languages. With its emphasis on the specific meaning of the words rather than the context in which they are spoken, English worked better to standardize communications. Now, this is not to deny the beauty of so many native languages, and many are making it a point to keep a wide variety of languages alive and to even flourish. But the fact that I can join a Zoom meeting with Toastmaster clubs from around the world is a testament to the efficacy of the English language as a tool to increase better relationships. Now, to adopt this idea will empower you. Whatever your situation is, however you do what you do, being on the same linguistic page of the person that you are talking to can also prove life-saving in a particular context for you, and you can avoid the situation of ever having to say to someone while you're flying a plane, Larry, we're going down. Mr. Toastmaster,